Hello everybody, we're going to be working on assignment number 1, the JavaScript section for MIS 3371, which is Transaction Processing Systems 1. The reason I'm doing this video is not to give you the answers, I want to make that clear. I'm just doing this video to try to help out those who are having troubles getting started with this assignment. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So whenever we get the source code from this page that is found on Park's page, we copy the source code and we paste it on an editor right here. I don't have any of the answers yet. We're going to be working through them. But essentially, you're going to be typing in the JavaScript here. These are comments, and this is going to give us the answers for this. So let's go ahead and get started. I don't have anything for question number 1. So if I go ahead and press this button, well, I do have that question right there, but let me go ahead and refresh, and I don't have any output now. So let's go ahead and get started with this one. So you saw the answer, but the answer doesn't count. What counts is what you write. So it's asking us right here, make sure to read everything. It's asking us first remove all the periods, commas, and hyphens from the beg string, which is initialized right here. Beg equals document and everything. So you bring this text and store it in the variable called beg, and now we get to start with this. So it's asking to remove all the commas, hyphens, and periods from the string beg before starting the question. So a good rule of thumb is to always have a copy of the string. So I went ahead and named my copy of beg. So let's go ahead and get started with these loops. So it's asking us, I'm going to go through this entire string, through each word, and every time I see the instance of a period, a comma with a space, a single comma, or a hyphen, I'm going to be replacing that symbol or that character with an empty space or just a regular space. So let's get started. It's asking us to remove that, so I'm going to write while copy of beg, index of 0, where you see 0 in that iteration. You go ahead and do copy equals itself, but replace the period with no space. So you're just getting rid of that period essentially. Now this one's a little bit tricky because we see 2 commas right here, right? So this comma is going to be pertaining to this right here. You see how this comma has a space? So I want to make sure that this space right here, this comma and the space, is just equal to a regular space. That way we can get rid of this comma and the space. And now it is just going to be times it without the comma and the space. Just a single space in the middle of those 2 words. Now let me explain why I have a separate comma right here. This separate comma is because right here we have a line feed, right? So this line feed does not contain a space. So if I have this loop right here counting the comma and the space, it is going to be ignoring this because it only contains a comma without a space. So I want to get rid of that. This line feed right here doesn't have a space, as you can see. It just goes straight into another line. So now I have to take that into consideration and say, while the string of copy of beg has a comma by itself, which is targeting this line feed right here, I'm going to write copy of beg is equal to itself, but with that single comma replaced with a space. Right. Now let's move on. And now the same idea from the period applies to the hyphen, while the copy of beg, wherever you see this symbol, the hyphen, in that iteration, make sure to replace it with an empty space. So copy of beg is going to be equal to itself, but replacing the hyphen with an empty space. So now we can go ahead and get started. Give me just 1 second. And okay, great. So now we're going to write that copy, which is the copy of beg, because that's the manipulation we just did. We did it to copy of beg and not beg. So just make sure you have that copy of beg right there, okay? So we're going to write a copy for the copy of beg. I just like to make copies. I feel like it's a lot easier than having to be calling that one copy through every single question. So question 1 is equal to copy of beg, semicolon. Make sure to end with a semicolon. And now we're going to initiate a counter. Counter for 1. Right. counter for question number 1 is equal to 1. And now the reason why, I'm going to explain why I have this counter in a little bit, but now I have another loop. While, question 1 dot index of a space is greater than -1. Now I'm going to write question 1 is equal to itself, but you're going to be replacing that empty space with no space. And now I'm going to write counter for 1. I'm going to increment that. And that is about it for question number 1. Now you have answer number 1, which is the span block ID. And I'm going to write .inner HTML. I'm going to be outputting this. And I'm going to write counter for 1. That's a number. I want it to be a string. ToString. And I'm going to end this with a semicolon. And the reason why I decided to make a copy, just to make sure I explain it a little bit better, is because I replaced every single instance of this, of this empty space with no space at all. So whenever I go to number 2, I do not want a string with absolutely no spaces. So I'm going to be giving question number 2 the copy of beg. So that question 1, this copy is only going to be pertaining to question number 1. So I went ahead and ran this, and I got this output. A good rule of thumb for question number 1 is to copy and paste this entire string into a Word document and count the words that it has, just to make sure you get an accurate estimate. A lot of people tend to get 120, 122, 133. So, it's just a lot more convenient also to make sure that your answer is right. So again, feel free to leave a comment to see if you believe I did anything wrong, if there's anything that you believe I could improve on, and I'll make sure to try to explain it to the best that I can. Thank you for watching, and I'll be posting question number 2 later on today, probably this week, but let me know what you think. Thank you.